everyone. Today we got to play
Forum Trajanum.
So, but before we talk about this game, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because board games are amazing. And that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Randy, tell us more about this particular game.
So this was a 2018 release. It's got a Board Game Geek rating currently of 7.3 and a Board Game Geek rank of 1033. It is a 2 to 4 player game, average length of 60 to 120 minutes, age 12 and up. It's designed by one of our favorites, Stephan Feld.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely felt like a Feld game. Art by Michael Menzel, published by Hutch and Stronghold Games. The MSRP on this one's a little pricey, $69.95, I guess because there's so much wood in it. It is not available in a lot of locations. It looks like Card House had it for $47.99, but it's out of stock. Miniature Market had it for $51.99, also out of stock. Amazon shows it currently listed at $79.95, so I'm assuming that means it's out of print. But you can buy it like new on Board Game Geek on their used area for $24.
Okay, so there's a couple of options for you if you want to go look it up. All right, so let's talk about component quality. So they have wooden meeples of different shapes.
Different, like soldiers and your tribunals.
Yeah.
And then, for whatever reason, the first player token looks amazingly like Boba Fett. I almost want to paint it to be Boba Fett.
You've also got some wooden player cubes. You've got, I don't know what those wooden victory mark kind of thing going on. Nothing too fantastic. You got some cardboard chits. Overall quality, it's okay.
Yeah, it's nothing spectacular, but it is, the wooden bits are nice, and I wish the brown and blue or brown and gray, I should say, were a little different in color because with dim lighting, it was kind of hard to tell the difference. But apart from that, I think the quality's okay, but nothing spectacular. I'd probably give it a 7.
Yeah, okay. I mean, if you say so.
You got whatever your opinion is. You give it.
It's fine. I don't disagree enough. All right. So, all right, Lynn, let's move on to themes. So obviously, Roman era, right? This is one of your favorite themes.
Yeah, I mean, Stephan Feld made Trajan, this feels like a spiritual successor to Trajan, but whether we like it better or worse, we'll find that out here shortly. But yeah, I mean, it definitely has a Trajan feel from a theme, totally different gameplay. But from a feel of the theme, it definitely feels like it.
Yeah. But give it a score.
Well, I mean, I do think the way the gameplay works makes sense with the theme. And the art is pretty on the cards. They are distinct from each different type of card that you get. The board is nice. It's not great, nothing outstanding, but it's nice.
I think that's kind of the theme. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably give this a 7 as well. I don't think it's anything spectacular. I should have pointed out when we were talking about the cards or the quality. There's no linen finish on the cards. They are just smooth, but you don't really use them for a whole lot.
No,
I mean they're integral to the game. Don't get me wrong, but you're not shuffling them, and it's not a deck builder, so you're not.
Yeah, so, okay, you're a 7, I'll agree.
You seem to be reluctantly agreeing on these.
Yes, these last two, it's a reluctant agreement.
Well, you can give your score. You don't have to agree with me.
Well, I mean, it's like a 6.5, and it's like, well, why battle it out?
All right. Yeah. We're not that far apart.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's why I'm like, I don't think it's a 7, but I'm not willing to fight for any lower, right? So, all right, so now let's talk about the rule book. Okay, he was reading, this game visually, when you were explaining the rules, I couldn't. I don't know. I don't know if I was checked out for that. Like I sat there and I was like, Miranda, pay attention, and I just couldn't.
Well, you were doing your thing that I'm not going to say what it is because I always get it wrong.
No, it wasn't that, because I actually stopped several times and I just, you were saying stuff and I was trying to connect the dots and I just couldn't. It's maybe not one of my days. So you're explaining the rules and I was like, Yeah, I'm gonna have to play this sucker.
So the rulebook is actually not bad. It's small. It's about half the size of the box, and it's 32 pages in length, but that's 2 languages. So it's actually 16 pages in rules. So the rulebook is pretty easy read. Now they do have some nice cheat sheets. These cheat sheets are really helpful, but they didn't have everything. So there was one of the problems it has. There's upgrades you can do, and there's 2 tiers of them. But it only had the first tier, really what it did. The second tier, it didn't really tell you. It's fairly self-explanatory if you look at the icons.
But if you know, you'd have to know. Well, and I tell you, every time I looked, it would have an information that wasn't on there. It's like all the standard stuff is on that cheat sheet, but like the stuff I wanted to double check, it wasn't. And I was like, well, pooey.
But the rulebook is laid out easy to find for any of those questions you have. So given that, I think the cheat sheets are pretty good. I'll give it an 8. I think it's the rulebook being as small as it is, and this being as complex of a game as it was, the fact that you could put it all into 16 pages of a small book. Now the font is a little small, but not real bad. It's not horrible. So yeah, I think 8's a good score.
Okay. All right. So now let's talk about the actual gameplay. Okay. So basically what ends up happening is that at the beginning of the game, your board is covered randomly with these tiles, and all you see is the back except for the 4 corners. Okay. And then the, I guess, caretaker will flip over 2 cards, and those cards will have icons. Hand me one, will you?
All of them.
Okay. So, and if you can see here, there's an icon down below. Now, there are black icons and white icons, but the icons are very distinct. So what basically the white is for the top. You'll find this one, like this is the white tower. I'm going to go to the white tower. I'll pick one of the tiles that is left in that column. And if it was like this one, this is the black bank-like building. I'd go to that and I would pick up one of the tiles here. So I would end up having 2 different tiles to choose from. So I will look at them and be like, well, if I'm going to pick out of these 2, I want this one. And the other one I'm going to pass
to the player to your left. In this case, with a 2-player game we were playing, it's, we're each exchanging. Yeah. But if you were playing 3 or 4 players, you would get the one. Give me one. Those are yours. There's one for you.
Okay.
So you end up with one of your own and one of your person on your right.
Right. So then you're going to make a decision of what you're going to choose. Okay. So, he gave me an upgrade. So I want that one because I want 25 points. So I'm going to upgrade my thing there. And I also will get a gray thing. Now, the thing is, there is an option for me to be able to get both of these tokens. And that's by spending 2 white. So I could spend 2 white and get both of the benefits, which in this case would also give me a gray and a coin. Okay.
Now, in some cases, as the game progresses, because you're choosing rows and columns, you could end up with one being empty.
Right.
And you don't have
so as long as you can choose one.
Well, yeah, but you could also spend these white figures, one of them, to choose any tile on the board. So if you get in that scenario, you can spend the white token to do that. But you don't have to, because you can, as long as you can get one of them, you can play it and just opt not to give one to your opponent. And if so, they use one of the tokens that they've accumulated over the course of the game of their choice. They can pick any of those.
Yeah. Okay. So the thing is to consider. So after I'm done choosing my thing, my color will go in this corner in a stack that I will use to place on the board. But then another one, the opponent player will actually go in this stack here, and that's what he was talking about. This is the stack that I will end up using. My tokens will end up getting used. So after each of us pick what we want to do, and we do that thing based on turn order, then we go to the build phase. So if that build phase, the build phase is strictly around your colored workers, okay? So your gray will get you basically this color, but this color has different icons on it. So depending on the icon, you'll go up different tracks. There are 3 different tracks and one bonus
one that gives you victory points based upon the round you trigger it in. So you build towers that yield victory points. Starting, if you do it in the first round, they're worth 3, and then they go down to 1 by the 3rd round.
Yeah, so not as helpful towards the end. But then, or you'll have colors, right? So if I had a blue, I can end up building a blue spot, red, and so forth, so forth. So if I were to build a blue building, let's say I did that, I had a blue, and I had a worker and I could place it on my board somewhere, then I would take my token over here in this corner and be careful because like if you have 2 blue and you're placing a 2 blue building, and if you don't have 2 tokens, then you won't be able to do that. So just FYI. Then I'm going to place this on a blue option. Now the thing about this is I want to be next to eagles if I can, because those are worth victory points, but I also want to connect to myself. Okay, because the longer bunch of group that I have all connecting will get me victory points across the different realms. But I'm going to go here, hoping that I can connect to myself a little bit later. All right, and then you flip over the cards until round 1 ends, and then a scoring round occurs.
Yeah, there's 24 cards in the deck, and they're spread out across 3 different rounds. So there's going to be 8. So 4 pairs come up each round.
So, like I said, and then a scoring round. So the scoring round takes in a bunch of different things. It places, it counts your here. It's based on your scoring track. So we didn't talk about this. So basically, at the beginning of the game, you have this track here on the sad side. I got it on the happy side pretty quickly. So the sad side right here, and as you upgrade it, moves up, and then that way the different elements of your board and different elements of your thing do get victory point, higher victory points. Okay, you can also flip it to upgrade it, and so therefore it's a lot easier to get those points. And then the other piece of it is we didn't talk about these round markers. So in round 1, for example, if you create this pattern, which is a gray colored building gray, you or a white and a coin in this case.
And it has to be the orientation, because some of them are vertical, some are horizontal.
Yeah, so this one's horizontal. So then for every set I have of that, so say if I had 2 white and 2 coin, and up here I had 2 of the set, it would be times 4, times where the head is located. So I have the head here, depending on its location, between 3, 5, and 7, I'll times the number. So if I had, in this case, 4 different ones, I'd do 4 times 3 if that's where my thing was at, or 4 times 5, depending on where my golden head is. So I thought that was a pretty interesting. The thing is, the pattern changes, and so do you set yourself up from the end where you'll get the most victory points,
and there's
or try to collect some at the
available
end?
for each era, so you don't always have the same game. You shuffle and you choose one randomly of each era, so you could have.
It keeps it fresh.
Fresh, yeah, different combinations.
So, well, and it's like our tier 2 and tier 3 contradict each other because, right, one was gray color, but the second one was color 2 gray in a color, so it's kind of like, aw. Anyway, so there's that. So that's the scoring, all the scoring mechanisms. Did I miss one? Oh, this one. So the board. So you'll end up getting different upgrades in the course of the game as part of one of your tile selection abilities. So you'll put them over here to get those special abilities. Now, the thing is when you go to score your board, each row is worth 1 automatically, but then for each token you have, it's an additional point times the gray buildings in that row on your board.
But before you ever score them, you have to pay them a wage. So each row you have to pay a coin, and if you don't have that coin, you have to inactivate a row. Mm-hmm. So that can be pretty painful. So you got to make sure you have a constant supply of coin to meet the need of your people.
Which was very annoying.
So there's a lot going on in this game for being as a simplistic a game as it is. I appreciate that. I think that was pretty cool that there was so much to do in this game. I don't think it has the meat of Trajan, the original Trajan, but I thought this was it was a nice lighter version of Trajan to play.
So for me, I thought it was okay. I think maybe I want to play it again before I really, truly the gameplay was fine. I just found it to be a little boring. And I don't know if that's the right word for it.
I don't find it as interesting as Trajan. I definitely don't. But
yeah, because I like Trajan.
Yeah, I think this one. I first of all, it's easy to teach. It's easier to get to. As far as it's not as heavy. It's definitely Trajan's more of a medium to heavy. I'd say this is more of a medium. It's definitely got some unique attributes to it. Something I've never seen in gaming, like the score track mechanism you mentioned. I thought that was very unique. The fact that the way you're building your engine, if you will, it's not a true engine build, but you're choosing the things that you're going to use for scoring during the course of the game. They were fairly unique. The area control piece of it was kind of, that's fairly common. I'm probably on this one, probably about a 7.5 is where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm actually probably going to give this a 6.5. Now, I may play it again and say, okay, maybe that was a little bit better because I understood kind of more at the beginning. I
had a few more plays than you did, so that probably helped. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not Trajan. It's Trajan is like a 9 or a 10 level game in my opinion. This one definitely not quite as good.
Well, and the thing is I'm trying to think about what really had me disassociate from this game, and I think the thing is I don't know. It's just you get the different colored workers, you build buildings, and I almost feel like but if you focus on the special things, then you couldn't build buildings. I don't know. There was something about it that just kind of left me like, I don't think it was as buildy as I kind of the games I liked, and I kind of for us to be build buildings and try to build this city, maybe it just didn't connect with me this go around. So who knows? Maybe a second try. But I do think the rules are solid. I don't think there's anything that is crazy, and I do think you're right. I think it's pretty straightforward. I think especially if you go just straight through the game through, because when you were explaining it, it did feel a little heavy to me.
Yeah, it probably.
But it turned out not to be that. But
yeah,
when you were explaining stuff to me about the different attractions, I just got lost.
Well, I think that might be maybe one of the reasons you disassociate was because there's so many ways to score in this game. I mean, it's point salad to the hilt. I mean, it's like there's just so many options of things you can do, and they're counter each other. They're not all in the same. They don't build on one another.
Well, and I think that's the thing. You know what? And the thing that you say, they don't build on one another. I like games that kind of, there's different scoring mechanisms, but they kind of feed off of each other, right? That's not this game. You're doing one thing or the other, and I think those type of games aren't as much fun for me because I don't mind. I like point salad, but I feel like there should be a blending where if you're like, okay, I'm doing this one thing, but it also pulls, if I have like A, B, C, D, if I'm doing D, it might pull up C and A. There are just some where you kind of get more of a slow, a build versus this one. It's just like, okay, pick one. And that's the one you're stuck with. And it's kind of like.
Well, you can score on all, don't get us wrong. You can score on all paths, but you probably won't specialize and get a lot of points from all of them. It's going to be, you get a lot of points from this path. You might get a few points vicariously for these other ones.
Yeah.
I can see why you might not like it as well. Now, again, it's not my favorite game by any means, but it is. I do like it slightly better than you, I think. And part of it is, one, it's Roman. I love Roman games. But two, I think it's
we have a lot of good Roman games.
Yeah.
So.
For some reason, it seems like they make really good thematic Roman games. I mean, it's just there's very few, if any, I can think of right off the top of my head of Roman games I just don't like.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, the one I want to go back to play again is the one we played with Andrew a couple of times. It's fairly recent-ish. It's so helpful. I know, guys.
Yeah, I'm not even sure which one you're talking about. You always do this, and I can't never come up with the game. Well, sometimes I get lucky, but yeah.
No,
your descriptions are
it's
legendary.
It's Roman. Andrew was sitting here. You were sitting here. I was sitting here.
Yeah, that's our usual positions. That's very helpful.
Anyway,
the Romanite one?
No, it had the different there were tracks here. There was the military. You went and fought, and you would pick the military ones on this corner, and then you had the income phase, like you had the income tracks. Anyway, it was
okay. It's a game.
It's a really good one.
If we come up with it, we'll just tack it on here because I'm sure we've lost our viewers now. So, all right. So the scores for this 7.5, 6.5. It's it's a good game. It's not great. It's good. It's okay. So I don't like it as well nearly as Trajan, which was the only thing I compared to because it is Feld. It's Feld Trajan. Anytime I think of Feld, I think of Trajan. So.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast. We'll catch you guys later.
Right, bye.
No, it's a game.
Yes.
We have it.
Yes, we have it. It's a game. I believe you.